suitcases of the devotees and suddenly said, "Oh king, you have lost your chain, where could it have gone?" And then when the king was also clueless, these ministers said it could have gone to the bag of the Vaishnavas. That is when the king said, the Vaishnavas couldn't have stolen. The ministers said, "We say he has stolen." Why did they say confidently? Because they were the ones who took the necklace and put them into the bags of the Vaishnavas. So the king, Kulashekar Azhwars, said, "I trust my Vaishnavas. I will not let you do any security check of my Vaishnavas' bags. I assure you that they wouldn't have stolen." How will you say that? The ministers asked. "Bring a pot, fill it up with virulent poison-bearing snakes. I will put my hand within. And if the snake bites, it means that the Vaishnavas have stolen. If they haven't, that means the Vaishnavas haven't. I trust my Vaishnavas. The snake will not bite me." He put his hand into the pot and nothing happened to him. So this is one incident telling or reminding us that how much of confidence and trust that we must have in our relationships, and especially with devotees. If somebody visits our home and later the AirPods are missing, what will be our conclusion? That person would have taken the AirPods. And when we do a proper search of our house, that particular AirPods will be lying between the pillows. So we may say, "No sir, I didn't go and ask him. I just thought he might have stolen." This very thought is enough in Sanatana Dharma for 700 janmas of us to bear that papam. So before the court of law, a physical evidence is required. I kill a person, I will be punished by the law. Let us say somebody says he thought he will kill that person, then law will not punish. Whereas in Sanatana Dharma, the karma theory states even if you think, that is enough. So Kulashekar Azhwars' life is an exemplification of how we must trust the devotees. And finally, he led a very, very simple life. He abandoned his kingdom. He led a very simple life. He went kshetram after kshetram, and finally the Jivatma of his parted away from the material body at Mannar Kovil in the southernmost part of Tamil Nadu. Let us now go to another interesting Azhwar called as Periyazhwar. Periyazhwar, as the name suggests, was Periyazhwar, big Azhwar. By size? No, because he became the father-in-law to Periya Perumal of Srirangam. Who was Periyazhwar? Periyazhwar was a Vedic scholar who lived in a small hamlet called as Srivilliputturu, south of Madurai. He was a man of immense intelligence but extreme humility. His only service to the Lord, which was very, very peace-giving to him, blissful to him, was to make new, fresh garlands to the Lord Vatapatra Shahi, who was housed in the nearby temple. So, he was born in this kulam where his ancestors were also engaged in this particular kainkaryam, service of making beautiful garlands to the Lord. Who was he? It is believed that each Azhwar is the incarnation of every possession of the Lord of Vaikuntham. Like how Sudarshana, Chakram, discuss is Tirumalizai Azhwar. Shankam, Nandakam, the sword, and Sharangam and Kaumodaki, where Poigai Azhwar, Bhudatta Azhwar and Pei Azhwar. Like how Vishwaksena, the commander-in-chief is Nammalvar. Like how Kumuda, who serves Vishwaksena, is Madhurakavi Azhwar. Like how Kaustubham, the resplendent gem of the Lord that shines on his chest, is Kulashekar Azhwar. Like how the smelling garland, Vanamala, is Tondaradipudi Azhwar. Like how the mole called Srivatsam is Tirpan Azhwar. Like how the bow called Sharangam is Tirumangai Azhwar. The Lord's celestial vehicle, the bird vehicle called Garuda, is Periyazhwar. He was called Vishnu Chitta. He was called Vishnu Chitta for two reasons, the scholars opine. He was having Vishnu in his Chitta. In his mind, he would always have Vishnu. And he was in the Chitta of Vishnu, so he was Vishnu Chitta. Whether it be the Chitta of Vishnu, Vishnu Chitta was there, or whether it is the Chitta of Vishnu or the one in whose chitta Vishnu was there, he was called Vishnu Chitta. So this particular Vishnu Chitta lived a very, very simple life in Srivilliputturu. And the Shastric knowledge that he had was not because he was blessed with great gurus. It was there in him innate. Guru Mukham Anadhitya Praha Vedan Aseshan Narapati Parikliptam Shulkam Adatu Kamaha Shvashuram Amaravandyam Ranganathasya Sakshat Dvija Kula Tilakam Tam Vishnu Chittam Namami. I prostrate to that Vishnu Chitta, says this particular shloka. He had immense love for Krishna Avataram. So much so that he thinks that Krishna was born not in Gokulam or Mathura in the north of India, but in Goshtipuram or Tirukoshtiyur, a kshetram in the south of India. As he describes this particular incident of Krishna's birth, he says, Vannamadangal Shul Tirukkottiyur Kannan Keshavan Nambi Pirandinil Yennai Shunnam Yediredir Tuvida Kannan Mutram Kalandu Alaraitre. When Krishna was born and the news reached the inhabitants of Gokula, they all came running. They ran hither and thither. They had pipes filled with different colors, like how people would play Holi with that instrument. It's called pitchkari. And he says that people would mix the different colors with oil and they would spray on each other. Yennai Shunnam Yedir Yedir Tuvida Kannan Mutram Kalandu Alaraitre, right in front of Krishna's house. There was only oil. They would come running, they would fall. Oduvar, Viluvar, Uhandalipar, Naduvar, Nampiran, Yengutan Yenbar, Paduvargalum, Palpare Kotta Nindru, Aduvargalum, Aitrai Padiye, Penichirudai, Pillai Pirandinil, Kanatam Puguvar, Puku Poduvar, Ano Parivannerilaikan, Tiruvonathanulagalum Yenbargale, Tiruvonathanulagalum Yenbargale, Tiruvonathan. Lord Krishna was born in the star of Rohini. But here the Azhwar says he was born in the star of Shravana. Why? Only if he gives the wrong star, Kamsa will not be able to spot the boy, it seems. Attattin pattamnal vandudonni acchudan, says Azhwar. Later he says, Yashoda did not have the time to sing a lullaby for her son. She has outsourced that job to me. Let me assume that I am the mother of Krishna and let me sing the lullaby to Krishna. Manikkan katti, Vairamidai katti, Ani ponnal seida vanna siru tottil. Manikkan katti, Vairamidai katti, Ani ponnal seida vanna siru tottil. Peni unakku Piraman vidu thandan, Peni unakku Piraman vidu thandan, Mani kuralane talelo, Vayyamalandane talelo. He sings for Krishna. Then he describes every stage of Krishna's birth, be it Krishna clapping, Krishna walking, Krishna eating, Krishna taking bath. So Azhwar's verses, especially Periyazhwar's verses, are drenched in honey. Well, if you ask me, sir, what if I do not know Tamil? What if I can't understand Tamil? Yes, there will be a problem in comprehending the quintessence of these Tamil verses. But why don't you take this as an opportunity to learn another language, that too one of the world's oldest languages, one of the world's oldest spoken languages? Take this as an opportunity. I am no expert in Tamil. I have also learned Tamil. Take this as an opportunity and learn. So today, the irony is, to those people who have been nurtured in the Indic civilization, the Vedic civilization, I am using English, which is a language of UK originally, to convey the thoughts of Azhwars who were Tamil speaking. So how beautiful it would be if each of us learn our languages. सोचिए कि मैं हिंदी बोलने वाला आदमी हूँ, घर में हिंदी बोलता हूँ, मेरे पापा और मम्मा हिंदी बोलते हैं, तो क्या मुझे भाषाएं सीखने में क्या दिक्कत है? आजकल तो इतने सारे टूल्स हैं. There are so many tools on YouTube. There are so many books. By a click, you get those books delivered, soft version, hard version. Learn a language. If you're Hindi speaking, learn 2 other languages. Maybe learn Telugu and Tamil. Let's say I'm a Telugu speaking person. ఎందుకంటే ఒక్కొక్క భాషకి ఒక సౌందర్యం ఉంది కదా. ద్రమిడ దేశం అంట ప్రఖ్యాతమైన ఈ తమిళనాడులో త్యాగరాజస్వామి వారు, శ్యామశాస్త్రి గారు, వారు సాహిత్యం, అన్ని సాహిత్యం తెలుగులో ఉంది. So most of the compositions of Tyagaraja and Shyama Shastri is in Telugu. But that shouldn't stop a music learning student from appreciating Telugu. We should learn. So many verses of Azhwar in chaste Tamil. So beautiful. When you relish, you'll get goosebumps. But for that you should learn Tamil. Tamil varadu sir. Romba kastam sir. Tamil namak varadu sir. How will Tamil come? When you can't respect that language, how will you protect Tamil and its culture when you're not learning its literature? Kannada ಮಾತಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬಸವಣ್ಣನ ವಚನ, ಪುರಂದರದಾಸರು, ಕನಕದಾಸರು ಅವರು ಬರೆದಿರೋ ದೇವರ ನಾಮ, ನಮಗೆ ಒಂದು ಭಕ್ತಿ ಬರಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ರೂಢಿ ಆಗಬೇಕಲ್ವೇ? वो हिंदी हो, అది తెలుగు భాష, తమిళాగట్టం, కన్నడ, learn the languages. It's very very important. मुझे तमिल नहीं आएगा सर, मैं कन्नड़ नहीं बोल सकता हूं सर, तो क्या बोल सकते हो? So learn a language. We have the knowledge. We say we are human beings, we are better than animals. If we don't learn languages, probably animals should be given the opportunity and they should learn languages. So take this opportunity, learn the language, because how much ever I describe Azhwar's verses, if you do not learn basic Tamil, there is no use in listening at all. How much can I translate in English? So take this as an opportunity. Well, Azhwar describes Lord Krishna's every act. In his life, there is said to have been an incident that happened. The incident was while he was living in Srivilliputturu. Close by was Madurai, which was ruled by the Pandyan king. The Pandyan king, while he wanted to check on how his subjects were happy with his administration or not, went in a disguise. And in the night he saw one traveler who had travelled from the north of India staying on the streets. And this traveler was lamenting in Sanskritam. And the shloka goes like this. Varsharthamashtau prayateta masan nisharthamardham divasam yateta vardhakya hetor vayasanavena paratra hetoriha janmanacha. Paratra hetoriha janmanacha. So this passerby was telling, a human being, an average householder, works very hard for 8 months so that for the 4 months when it's extreme monsoon, he can enjoy. He may not be able to go out, he will be able to enjoy. Similarly, a devotee should work from day 1 of his birth so that the Jivatma leaves the material body and goes to the abode from where there is no return. So like how we all work hard for material pleasures in our life, we should also work for the spiritual pursuit. says this person. Listening to this shloka, the king has a change of mind and he waits for a beautiful court of scholars where there will be one final decision as to what is that way to go to that abode from where there is no return. So he invited scholars from different directions and they all came and presented different views saying Indra is supreme, Varuna is supreme, Vayu is supreme, Yama is supreme, Agni is supreme, Ganesha is supreme, Lord Muruga, Kartikeya is supreme, Lord Shiva is supreme. That night, it is said that the Lord appeared in the dream of Vishnu Chitta and said, Vishnu Chitta, you have to go to Pandyan's court and argue. He said, sir, I am engaged in the simple service of making garlands for you. Why should I go? No, I command you, you have to go. So there was no other choice. So Azhwar left. He went there. He sang praises of Vishnu from various scriptures, so much so that the golden casket broke open and all the gold coins fell. The king was happy. He declared that Periyalvar should be given all the royal treatment and he was made to sit on an elephant and go by the streets of Madurai. And as Periyalvar was going, Periyalvar was able to visualize Lord Vishnu with his consorts witnessing his act of coming on the elephant. So he thought like a mother, oh, no evil eyes should fall on Vishnu, he's so beautiful. So he sang verses on the Lord in such a way that it was like a blessing on the Lord. Have you ever heard a devotee blessing the Lord? It should be the Lord who blesses us, right? So he sang Tirupallandu, which is a part of Periyalvar Tirumozhi. Pallandu, Pallandu, Pallayirattandu, Palakodi, Nooraayiram, Mallanda, Tintol, Manivanna, Un Shevadi Shevvi Tirukkaappu. Adiyomodum Ninnodum Pirivinni Ayiram Pallandu, Vadivai Nin Valamarvinil Valhinna Mangayum Pallandu, Vadivar Shodivalatturayum Shudar Ariyum Pallandu, Padaipor Pukkumulangum Appandi Shanniyamum Pallande. He sings. Thus, this incident made Vishnu Chitta the one who sang praises on the Lord as Periyalvar. Periyalvar is a personification of Krishna Bhakti is all we can say. Andal, the very, very daughter of Periyalvar, her life history is inspiring and is very popular too. It is said that Periyalvar, earlier Vishnu Chitta, now Periyalvar, who was engaged in the service of the Lord by making beautiful garlands for the Lord, was one day, while he was plucking flowers to make a beautiful garland, he heard the cry of a baby girl. He went and saw that it was a beautiful girl lying by the Tulasi plant. Thinking her to be the prasadam of Mother Earth herself. Sakshat Kshamam Karunaya, says Vedanta Deshika. He nurtured this child as his very, very own daughter. And she was called Kodai in Tamil, and in Sanskritam she is called Goda. This little girl was filled with Krishna Bhakti from the very beginning. Her outpouring, Periyalvar's outpouring, came much later in his life. This girl started singing praises of Krishna from her very young age. She wanted to marry him. Little girl. So how could she think of marriage? That's her choice. So she wanted to marry the Lord. So she propitiated Cupid, Manmatha. தையொரு திங்கள் தரை விளக்கீற்றி தன்மண்டலமிட்டு மாசி முன்னாள் ஐயனு மனக்கொண்டு தெருவணிந்து அழகநீர் கலங்கரித்த அனங்கதேவா உய்யவும் மாங்கோலோ என்ன சொல்லி உன்னையும் உம்பியையும் தொழுதேன் வெய்யதோர் கழல் உமிழ் சக்கரக்கை வேங்கடவர்க்கு எம்மை விதிக்கிற்றியே. And then she would construct castles because it was a local tradition that if you construct castles and pray to the Lord, you will be blessed with a groom of your choice. நாமமாயிரம் ஏத்த நின்ன நாராயணா நரனே உன்னை மாமித்தன் மகனாகப் பெற்றாள் எமக்குவாதை தவிருமே காமன் போதருக் காலமென்ன பங்குனின்னாள் கடை பாரித்தோம் தீமை செய்யும் ஸ்ரீதராய் எங்கள் சிற்றில் வந்து சிதையேலே. So while this was the thought process, From a very young age, her Krishna Bhakti reached great heights. This Krishna Bhakti led her to do acts even without her father's knowledge. That was, every day while he would keep the flower garland for the Lord, Sri Vatapatra Shai of the close by temple ready, and then would go out to do his anushtanam, his daily rituals, she would adorn herself with the garland, look at her beauty in the mirror, check if she was beautiful. She would apply lipstick. You may be wondering, lipstick then? Kovvai Shavvai Tiruthi, the concept. Remember, the Indic civilization has been a great fashion-oriented civilization. We had beautiful footwear. We had nice dress. So it was not akin to many other thought processes where the women have to cover their body head to toe. Nothing of that sort. We had hairdress, we had lipstick, we had beautiful jewelry. So Andal, she applied lipstick and she used to look at her beauty in the mirror, and before her father used to come, she used to bundle up that garland and used to keep it there so that the father wouldn't recognize. Her devotion to Krishna was so much so that she asked her father what should be done to get the groom of her choice. He said, you follow the same thing what Gopikastris did in Srimad Bhagavatam, which they all did, called a vratam called as Katyayani Vratam. Katyayani Mahamaye Mahayogin Yadishwari Nandagopasutam Devi Patim Me Kurute Namaha. Please give me the son of Yashoda as my husband. The girls would pray to Katyayani, make Krishna my husband. But there, to attain Krishna, they went through Katyayani. Andal made a slight change. To attain Krishna, let me go through Krishna. So she sang 30 beautiful verses, the world famous Tiruppavai. Margadi Tingal Madinirainda Nannalal Neerada Poduveer Podumino Neridayir Sheermalgumai Padi Chelva Chirumirgal Kurvel Koduntodilan Nandakopan Kumaran Yerar the Kanni Yashoda Ilam Shingam Karmeni Shenkan Kadir Madiyam Pol Mugattan Narayanane Namakke Paritharuvan Paror Pugada Padindelor Embavai. So the first 5 verses of Tiruppavai, she introduces the readers to this vratam, to this oath called as Pavai Nombu. Then as she continues further, she says from Pasuram 6 to 15, as a group, as a teamwork, we all have to go to the Lord. In Pasuram 16, she seeks the permission of the watchmen, the security personnel outside Krishna's house. In 17th Pasuram, she pays her obeisance to Mother Yashoda, to father-in-law Nandagopa, to brother-in-law Balarama. In 18th, 19th and 20th Pasurams, she invites the grace of Nappinnai or Neela Pirati, Neela Devi, whom Krishna was arranged to be married to. And then 21st to 25th Pasurams, she insists on Krishna's grace. And 26th Pasuram, she sees Krishna. She prays to him in 27, 28 and 29. And 30th Pasuram, she says this is the phalam, the fruit of reciting Tiruppavai. So as she expressed her desire to her father, the father was very reluctant because he was also upset about his daughter wearing the garlands. He spotted her. He said, you should have not done this, Andal. He goes and seeks remorse. He apologizes to the Lord, but the Lord in turn in the dream says, I love wearing the garlands which were earlier worn by Andal. Do that to me. I will wear only the garlands worn by Andal. At one point in time, she dreams of marrying the Lord. She expresses her dream called Varanamayiram to her friends. On one side this, Periyalvar gets a dream that the Lord wishes to marry Andal. He asks Andal, which Lord would you like to marry? She denies and rejects the Lord of Badarikashramam or Badrinath, citing the cold weather conditions. She says, I cannot marry Rama of Ayodhya, stating that he's Ekapatni Vrata. He has vowed to marry only one lady who's Sita and not me. I cannot marry the Lord of Dwaraka because he's a big glutton, he keeps eating. I will not marry the Lord of Pandharpur because he stands on one brick and he himself is unstable. Where will he hold me? I will not marry the Lord of Guruvayur, because if I am 2 feet in height, he is 1 foot. I don't know whether he'll carry me or I have to carry him. I will not marry the Lord of Parthasarathi of Triplicane in Chennai because he's got a big moustache. I'm worried about moustache. I will not marry Kanchipuram's Varadaraja because my concentration will not be on the Lord but will rather be on the silk saris of Kanchipuram. So which Lord will you marry? The father asked. I will marry the Lord of Srirangam called Ranganatha, and both of them were married. So this being on one side about Andal, let's go to another Alvar called Tondaradi Pudi Alvar, born in a small hamlet called Mandangudi, and his attachment to the Lord of Srirangam was heavy. He would not sing on any other temple. He sang 2 prabandhams, one to wake the Lord up. Wake the Lord up, yeah, because every time we sing that verse, we are woken up from our eternal slumber. It's called Tiruppalli Eluchi, akin to the Suprabhatam. The other prabandham is Tirumalai, which is very important for the Seva Sangam, the Bhakta Kotis who have organized this program, because Nama Sankirtanam was central to Tirumalai Prabandham. Draupadi, while she had to suffer in the court because of humiliation, it was the name of the Lord that protected her. It was the name of the Lord that protected the elephant while its foot was caught in the jaws of the alligator. It was the name of the Lord that protected Mudgala. In Mudgalopakyanam, Namanu Mudgalanum Pesha, Narage Ninnargal Ketka, Naragame Suvargamagum, Namangal Udaya Nambi. So in this particular Prabandham, he describes the beauty of the Lord of Srirangam. The Lord of Srirangam, the Moola deity, looks like the emerald hill, and his lips look like the corals. His eyes look like the petals of a newly blossomed lotus flower. Pachai Malai Pol Meni Pavalavai Kamalachenkan Achuta Amarare Ayartham Kurunde Yennum. After having had a glimpse of this Lord, Ichuvai Tavirayan Poi Indiralogam Alumachuvai Perinum Venden. I shall not want or desire Vaikuntham because I have seen Vaikuntham in front of my eyes at Srirangam, says Alvar. It is said that in his life, for a brief period, he was enamored by the beauty of a damsel called Devadevi. Devadevi had taken this as a vow, as an oath, to distract the Alvar, and she was successful. Eventually, she was so mesmerized by Alvar's love for her that she too fell prey. And when Alvar had lost all that wealth that he had and he had spent on her, there is said to have been an incident where one of the holy vessels of the Srirangam temple was missing, and the blame was thrown on the Alvar, and when the Alvar was put to guillotine, Devadevi comes running praying that he was innocent, and that is when the Lord is said to have told the king that it was me who stole the vessel. To prove the greatness of the Alvar, bring him back to the path of devotion. And Alvar felt that he had committed a grave crime of abandoning Bhakti all these days while he was with Devadevi, the damsel. He goes city after city seeking the dust at the feet of devotees. He applies that to his forehead and becomes Tondaradi Podi Alvar, Bhaktangri Renu, who depends on the dust of the devotees. This being said, on one side, Tondaradi Podi Alvar is an exemplification of Sita, Ekastha Hridayanonam, like Sita looked to only one direction where Rama was, his devotion was pointed to the Lord of Srirangam. Well, we are on one side of the banks of Kaveri. Let's go to the other side, and that Alvar is Tiruppan Alvar. The Alvar who is said to have sung the least number of verses, but his verses contain the essence of Veda, says Swami Vedanta Deshika. Pan Perumal Padiyador Padal Pattum Palamarayin Porulyennu Paraviginnom. Palamarayin Porulamidu. The essence of Vedas is what is found in his verses. Tiruppan Alvar was born in Urayur, the other side of Srirangam, and he was not born into a community that commanded too much of respect. while he stood mesmerized with the Lord's beauty of Srirangam. He had never visited the temple. He has just heard of the Lord's beauty by the passers-by. And while he used to be indulged and engaged in devotion, the haughty priest of Srirangam came, took one stone and hit on Azhwar's forehead. Blood started oozing. The Azhwar felt very bad and he said, "Priest, sir, please you go. I did a grave mistake by standing on your way." While the haughty priest went to the temple doors refused to open. The Lord said, "You've hurt my devotee, bring him here and then the doors will open." The priest ran, carried the Azhwar on his shoulders and came running inside the temple. And as he walked into the temple, the Lord himself showcased his beauty head to toe, and part by part by part, Azhwar started experiencing the beauty and started indulging into the yogic asana, yamam, niyamam, asanam, pranayamam, pratyaharam, dharana, dhyanam, samadhi, the Ashtanga yoga. And he started singing, Amalanadi Piran, Adiyar Kemmai, Alpadithiya Vimalan, Vindavarkon, Vidayar Puril, Vengadavan, Nimalan, Nirmalan, Nidivanavan, Nilmadil, Larangattamman, Tirukkamalapadam Mandi, and Kanninullanavu Kinnade. Oh, the beautiful feet that are akin to the lilies and lotuses get into my eyes. The beautiful calf muscle that bears the thin silk cloth of yellow in color looks like the rising sun amidst the green mountains. The thin hip that houses that little nabhi reminds me of Brahma who stands, or the Yedil Undi stands Brahma. And isn't this the place where Yashoda tied with that rope? Oh, the Vakshasthalyam, the broad chest reminds me of Mahalakshmi's seating. And the beautiful face of the Lord can give competition to the most beautiful moon-like countenance of this world. So he describes part by part, and by the time he is closer to the Garbhagriham, the Jivatma of Tiruppan Azhwar has left his material body. A short biography, very powerful. Hurting another devotee is like hurting the Lord himself. And finally coming to the last of the Azhwars, Tirumangai Azhwar. Tirumangai Azhwar sang many verses, and those verses are housed in 6 different compositions. Periya Tirumozhi, Periya Tirumadal, Shiriya Tirumadal, Tiruvazhukkoottirukkai, Tirukurunthandagam, Tirunedunthandagam. And he is the Azhwar who is said to have travelled across the length and breadth of the country. Had it not been him, we wouldn't have had 108 Divya Deshams. It will be 40 or 50 odd plus. That's all. He made it 108 by travelling to the nook and corner of the country, right from Badarikashramam, Shalagramam in Nepal, Badarikashramam in Uttarakhand. He has sung on every possible Divya Desham. His life is a very different life. He didn't begin his life as a devout person. He was a chieftain under a Chola king. He ruled his country well. On his sojourn to his kingdom, he saw a beautiful damsel, Kumudavalli Nachiyar, walking out of the waters of a pond. He was enamored by her beauty. He went and proposed to her. She said, "Don't propose to me. You check with my parents. If my parents are okay, I'll get married to you." They agreed. Then he went back to her and said, "Marry me." She said, "I've got 2 conditions. You have to become a Vaishnava first. You are a king now. But get an identification as a devotee. Put the Shankha Chakra Lanchanam. Second condition, you'll have to serve 1,000 hungry Vaishnavas every day. It's called Tadiya Aradhanam. You have to serve them. You have to serve them food. If you can feed them every day, then I'll marry you." He says, "Okay, fine." He got the Samashrayanam done. Every day he would feed 1,000 people. But where will he get the money from? He started using the government money. At one point in time, the king was very unhappy, and he said, "You have to return the money to me." That is when he prays to the Lord. The Lord showcases some wealth on the banks of Vegavati in Kanchipuram. He goes, digs, takes the treasure and gives that back to the king. Well, that promise has to still be maintained. Where will he get the money from? Then he becomes a dacoit. So he would steal from people, passers-by, and then he would use that money to feed the poor. And he started having his own set of people extremely talented in stealing. Nidalil Vodunguvan, Maranuni Yeruvan, Nidalil Odunguvan, Tal Uduvan. These were the names of his assistants. One day, in order to correct him, the Lord and Sri Mahalakshmi come as a normal couple who are married with lot of jewels, and he manages to steal. Tirumangayalvar, he manages to steal. Parakala, he manages to steal. But there was one thing left, which was the ring that was put on his toe finger. So while he tries to bite and take it from the groom's foot, is when the groom touches his head and recites a certain mantra called Ashtaksharam. Om iti vyaharet, namaha iti paschat, narayanayet uparishtat, om ityekaksharam, namaha iti dve akshare, narayanayeti panchaksharani. So as this narration, this teaching happens, he receives enlightenment. And then he stops stealing. He goes kshetram after kshetram singing the praises of the Lord. And those verses get compiled. One of the beautiful verses. Kulam tarum shelvan tandedum adiyar padutuyarayina vellam nirantarum seyyum nilvishumbarulum arulodu perinilam alikkum valam tarum mattum tandidum pettadayinum seyyum nalantarum sollai naan kandu kondeen narayana vennum namam. More than a mother who could shed her love on her children, I find something that can give me more solace, more affection, more vatsalyam, and that is the name of Narayana, Nama Sankirtanam. And in his Prabandham, to students who are interested in mathematics and programming, there's a Pascal triangle-like format in the form of a chariot. It's called Thiruvalukkutirukkai. So it will be sung as 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it will go in that pattern. Oru kuralai. Irunilam Vendi. So this is a Kalichirama Vidnagara Pasuram. It will go in that format. It's a beautiful format. It's a Rathabandham. So if you put the numbers at the top, replicated at the bottom, you will find the Lord of Tirukudandai, Kumbhakonam, sleeping in the middle. So these are all various forms of poetry. See, it will be mind-boggling to us, even before Shakespeare, even before Keats. We had a civilization where we discussed about Pascal's triangle, Aryabhatta talking about Chaturadhika Shatam, Ashtagunam, 4 more than 100, 104 into 8, Ashtagunam 8, multiply with 8, 832, add it with 62,000, Dva, Sashti, Ayutascha, and divide it by 20,000, you get 3.1416, which is the value of pi. While constructing a Yajnakuntam, just in the sake of describing Yajnakundam, they will describe the value of pi. So as a civilization, we had umpteen knowledge, just that we were very bad at marketing and preserving. The blame is on us, not on them. So Azhwars were nothing but the exemplification of chaste, unadulterated, uninterrupted devotion to the Lord. Be it Poigayalvar, Budattalvar, Periyalvar, Tirumalizhayalvar, Nammalvar, Madurakavialvar, Kulashekharalvar, Periyalvar, Andal, Tondaradipudiyalvar, Tiruppanalvar or Tirumangayalvar, all the 12 Azhwars, and their devotion, which all was brought together in a beautiful system by Bhagavad Ramanuja, who is regarded as the 13th Azhwar. And their compositions together, which is the Nalayana Divya Prabandham, is the guiding light to how to be a humble Vaishnava, humble Astika, humble devotee. So I have been given this opportunity to speak by the devotees of Sri Jnanananda Swami. So I take this opportunity to thank you all, to thank all the organizers, especially to Arun, who was very, very humble, and he contacted me, and I felt that I should learn a lot from you all. This 2-hour or 2.5-hour session will not do justice to Azhwars. You will have to listen to days and weeks and months together. But nevertheless, let this be a good start. Any mistakes that I have committed should be forgiven. This is my ardent request to you all. Kavitarkika Simhaya Kalyana Gunashaline Srimate Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave Namaha. Namaskaram.